Now it's time for our weekly energy update with Dan McTeague, President of Canadians for Affordable Energy.
Hello, Teresa. Another week has gone by. We're getting awfully close to that midpoint, the long weekend in many provinces across Canada for Civic Day. Looks like we're not seeing much movement on the price of energy. And that's owing to the fact that there really isn't much in the way of any disruptions of refineries or any, unusual weather patterns. Yes, it's been warm, but it usually is during the summer. I know that's not something that the climate crowd likes to consider, or that we have cold winters. But anyway you slice it, it's been a fairly calm year with prices remaining well below where they've been in the past, even after the federal government has tinkered with putting on carbon taxes. So in British Columbia, we're seeing prices in the mid 160s for Vancouver, a little lower, about 5 cents for Victoria. For the rest of BC in the 145, 150 range. And same for Alberta. Look, 120 at the low end, 119 in some places, up as high as a $1.26, $1.27. That's just retail margin. There's not really much moving prices there. Same for Saskatchewan, where the price remains the same all the time. Almost ditto for Manitoba. Ontario's seen about a 3-cent decrease this week from 136 down to 133, and that's at the high end. Of course, we know Quebec is always 20 cents a litre more because they still love their carbon taxes there, and they have higher taxes, period, for fuel. While Atlantic Canada has seen a bit of a decrease, maybe a penny and a half for gasoline, as we correctly predicted, but likely to see that trend continue into next week. A lot of those trends have to do with the fact that people are waiting to see if there's going to be any kind of resolution in the last week before the tariffs that Trump has imposed hits Canada and other nations as well that haven't come to an agreement. And there will also be, of course, some movement given the weakness of the Canadian dollar, which remains in the 137 penny range, 137 pennies to buy a US dollar. But it looks like we're in a very calm position as far as energy prices are concerned. But that doesn't mean that prices couldn't be lower. Think, for instance, that there is a second carbon tax, the Clean Fuel Standard, which we've been talking about for 5 years. It's already costing you 4 cents a liter, and 15% of gasoline you buy is actually green ethanol. It's stuff that you shouldn't be putting with gasoline, but to make the farmers happy and to reduce the amount of CO2 that is being produced by refineries, they have to buy carbon credits, and you and I pay for that. That's why it's going to go to about 20 cents a liter by 2030. And of course, we have a federal government that believes that they can still, despite all the major companies coming together saying this EV mandate is insane, they still have trendy MPs from downtown Toronto think that they can still impose that. Well, let's say that that will probably put an end, a final nail in the coffin of the Canadian and Ontario auto pact to the United States. And if you merge that with the idea that you can stop building pipelines or pretend to tell people you've got these big mega projects, but they all have to have consensus by Indigenous groups. That means every single one. And you have to have, it has to be decarbonized. It sounds like Canada has a very grim and very bleak future as a result of the elbows up crowd that decided to be cool and trendy to stand up to Donald Trump. How's it working, by the way? Because there isn't a single thing that Mark Carney and the Liberals have done that demonstrates any pushback. They're basically caving in. And worse, with the net zero program, they're going to make things a lot more expensive and cause the Canadian economy to falter even further. I realize that sounds grim, but that's the reality of folks out there who may have been fearful about why they should vote one way or another. But for the fourth time, they voted to confirm a government that's willing to spend money we don't have, giving money for things that we don't need, and creating a situation in this country where Canadians are going to be left holding the bag, not just this generation, but generations to come. It all began with fooling around with energy and making energy unaffordable. As a result of this, let's look for the next week. Not much change, but we do have to be very careful. We are now entering that period of time where the consensus is Canada is definitely going to recession, and energy prices should follow that, notwithstanding the fact the rest of the world is benefiting, especially the United States, while Canada continues to falter. But remember something, Teresa, they voted for it just a few weeks ago.